All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another round of Coffee and Questions. Today's topic, what we're going to talk about, JB Weld. There are some pretty in-depth discussions on different methods and different ways that people are using JB Weld. I thought it would be interesting to do a video and share, a lot of the information with everybody out there. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I always say, no long intros. So here we go. Okay, the first comment was there was a guy, he goes ahead and he used this on a lot of small parts. He puts them on a tray and slides them into an oven at 100 degrees and bakes them for a while, but he doesn't put them in there till after the JB Weld it begins to set. Like let's say it starts to get tacky first. Then he slides them into the oven. Now you don't probably have to do that where I live. I live in Southern California and the temperatures outside go over 100 without a problem, so you can just put it outside. But if you live back east or somewhere where it's colder, this is one way. He's saying that you can speed up, the cure time on this. That's not something I've ever tried, but I thought it was an interesting thing to note. Now, somebody made a note on here that the average curing time is 1 to 2 days minimum to let it really set up like solidly before you can start, sanding it down and trying to form it. Another guy said, well, don't try to go higher than 90 degrees. I don't know what it does to it, but, if you can keep it right around there for 4 hours, you've got it pretty well cured. Okay, now, that's just like I said, it's a discussion. It's not something that I've tried. There's another guy in here. He's got some kind of a fabrication shop. He said he uses epoxies, different kinds all the time, and his best advice is never go with a fast-drying epoxy. They're not as strong as the slow-drying epoxies, no matter who makes them. The slow-drying ones are much better and give it the cure time, and then you're fine. Quick drying ones might work depending on your application, but they're not the best choice. Can you use this on cement statues? One person said yes, he's done it before. It's still holding up real well on a fountain where, a corner had chipped out of it. He used JB Weld to reattach it, and he said even with water in it and so forth, it doesn't leak, and it's been holding up fine for years. Well, there's a couple of people in here that said that the comments were like when people complain that it has failed them and it's failed to do what it says, is because they never did surface preparation correctly. So what you want to do the best you can is to clean the surface. Okay, now sand it if you can and rough it up real good to where it's the bare metal, or in the case of cement or anything like that, you want to clean it up the best you can, make the surface as clean as you can. And if it's steel, you can use brake cleaner, you can use acetone, mineral spirits. There's lots of things you can use after you've prepared that surface just to super clean it before you apply the JB Weld. In that case, if you do, everybody agrees that this stuff works perfectly well. There's a couple of notes here. One of them is you don't even want to touch that area that you're going to bond with your hands, because the oil from your hands can weaken that bond. So, that's one key here, or one tip you might want to follow is, keep the surface clean, don't touch it, then apply it. The other is a minimum of 24 hours, one of the people wrote, before this is cured hard enough for you to work on. Another guy, like I said, 1 to 2 days. If you're not in a rush, 2 days is probably optimal, but at least wait the 24 hours. One guy in here is mentioning how he patched a radiator that had a crack in it with JB Weld. It's been well over 4 years. It's still holding up well. I'm going to change a picture here in a minute and give you some examples of pictures that people posted of ways that they've used a JB Weld, so you can kind of see how other people are using it also. Here's somebody else that said he had an old straight 4 engine that had a crack in the block. Rather than replace it, because of the expense, he decided to try it. He said it's been over 2 years and it's still holding well. So that sounds pretty good if you've got something like that. If it's still holding after 2 years, I'd say that's pretty damn good. Another guy that's been an actual mechanic for many, many years in his career said he's never had a toolbox where he didn't have JB Weld in it, because it comes in so handy for him on so many occasions. So that's pretty good advice. If you're working on automobiles a lot, this may come in real handy for you to have. All right, here we go. Here's an example that somebody posted of a rim that had a hole in it or a crack, and he repaired it with JB Weld. And he said it's been holding for years also, but he wanted to throw up a picture showing how he applied it. So this is one example. Let me give you another one. The mechanic that we were talking about, he posted this picture of how he used JB Weld when he was working on an automobile and how he applied it also. Okay, and again, another automotive repair somebody did, showing you a picture of how they applied it, and it's still in use and it's still not causing them any problems. Well, the question pops up, can I use it on wood? I've tried. I don't think it works well on wood at all. I wouldn't use it. You know, I use Tight Bond, or there's another one, I think it's called Weld Bond. They're glues that you can buy that are super strength glues specifically designed for wood. This is not my choice for wood, to give you a direct answer. That's my personal opinion, though. Can it be used on aluminum manifolds? Yes, it can. There's many people on the discussion forum that went ahead and posted saying that they've used it successfully without any problems at all. All right, here's another close-up shot of some more automotive repair that somebody has done using JB Weld. And the question popped up, what can you do with it when you're done? Well, you can sand it. I mean, it's very sandable. It's very paintable. You can actually grind this if you wanted to. It might gum up depending on what you're using, what kind of an abrasive wheel. But, you know, you can use abrasive wheels and so forth on this. I mean, once it sets up real hard, this epoxy, yeah, you can definitely work with it real easily. The picture up on the left shows somebody used it to repair an oil pan, and it's still holding according to the person that posted it without any problems. One over on the right, it looks like some exhaust piping they put together using JB Weld. Again, the person that posted it says it's holding rock solid, haven't had any problems with it, no leaking. Again, somebody made a note, look, if you want this to work like it's supposed to, they keep re-emphasizing, you know, the prep. Clean the surface, scuff sand it if you can, but at least clean it real good. Use brake cleaner fluid, use acetone, use something, and then try not to touch it. Then go ahead and do your, your application. But it says, well, what if you got two pieces? You can't just sit there and hold them. Well, you can use blue painter's tape. Hold pieces together until, at least for a couple of hours or so, until it begins to set, and then you probably won't have to worry about it and you can remove the tape. Yeah, there's another trick, I agree with somebody that posted this, that you can do. You can use like baling wire or real thin wire of any kind, and if you want to really reinforce something, wrap it real good with that. One guy used dental floss. He said it works also as a reinforcement. Put it on there real tight, then go ahead and coat it with JB Weld, and it's actually, it's just reinforcing that epoxy that much more. But yeah, I've done it with small wire. I believe it was like a real thin kind of a baling wire, and I wrapped something, and then I used pliers, and twisted it and then clipped it, and then I went ahead and put JB Weld over it, and it came out rock solid. So yeah, I agree with you. You can do that definitely. Another guy in here suggested that, he had a leaky pipe, and what he did is he cleaned the pipe real well, wiped it down just like we said with the prep. He put some JB Weld on there, then he wrapped it with fiberglass cloth, and then he added more JB Weld, and he used a spatula, an old spatula, smoothed it out, and and he went all around the whole thing, and then he let it go ahead and cure. And he made a note, you can actually use another coat of JB Weld after that one sets if you really wanted to. Now, I don't know what he was trying to repair. That's kind of cool to know that, you can do that. You can use fiberglass tape, and you can use multiple coats of JB Weld, and it'll hold up really well. The reason he's saying, that he was, now that I read farther, the reason why he used multiple coats of JB Weld is so that that fiberglass taping is like completely saturated and it's completely covered over, and it creates that much more of a bond for holding that leaky pipe from leaking again. So okay, that's good to know. It's something I've never tried, but I would definitely remember it. And then one of the other things on here, somebody said if you really want this stuff to set up really solid, the longer you wait, the stronger the bond's going to be. So if you want a super strong bond, you might let it sit for the 1 to 2 days, like the other guy that up a comment suggested. I don't know, because I've usually, when I've done this, I've let it set for a minimum of 24 hours. Then I began to kind of mold it and start playing around with it, and sometimes I do let it set for 2, 3, 4 days. But not because of a set time, it's just because I don't need to get back to it right away. The guy says ignore the instructions that come with it, and just remember, the longer you let it sit, the stronger the bond's going to be. But there's no, in his comment, there's no end to, saying how long he lets it set for. But everybody probably lets them set for different periods of time, depending on how fast they need to get back to using it. Anyway, it's good advice. Okay, last picture that I had is a tank that somebody had repaired. I'm not sure what the tank goes to or what it's part of, but you can see here where he's put that JB Weld on there, and he's went over the seam or wherever it was leaking from. And then the same thing he puts in his comments. It's been good. It's held up for years now. So, I mean, I guess the point is this is a very strong industrial strength, great epoxy that a lot of people have got nothing but positive things to say about it. The negatives, when you dig into them, I'm not so sure that they prep things correctly. And so if the surface still has oil on it or anything oily at all, and it didn't hold or work, then they're sitting there, oh, it's junk, and they start complaining about it. But easily well over 90% of the people in the forum and in the discussion groups gave this thing a 2 thumbs up, said it's fantastic for what it is. You're going to pay maybe a little bit more, another $1 or $2 in these big box stores or what have you to get JB Weld, but they said it's well worth it. You should skip all the other epoxies. Don't buy the quick, fast drying epoxies if you really want, you know, the super strength and bonding, because the slower it sets up, the stronger it's going to bond. And that's something that everybody in the forum seemed to agree upon. So another comment, a guy used it for radiator hose repair, and it's been holding up and still holds up. Okay, I would go along with that if you really had to in a pinch, but I would get the radiator hose changed, you know, as soon as I could. I don't know if I would just leave that on there as a permanent solution to the radiator hose, but it's good to know that it would work. I mean, I'm glad you posted it. It's great. We're back to the thing on wood again. My experience, like I said, is no. If somebody else has got a different experience, they can leave it in the comments below, but it's not something I would use on wood. You can use it on cement, plastic, aluminum, steel. You know, all these applications, I agree with people on the forum. Yes, it does work. I just wouldn't be my first choice for wood. Anyway, I'll let other people comment if they want to. This was meant to be kind of a quick video and just a discussion on thoughts from other people that have used JB Weld, you know, in what they do for work or in their hobbies, and how it's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them. I'm not the only one that agrees that it's not good for wood, but like I said, different people have different experiences depending on, you know, what they're using it and how their application is. It just doesn't work for me. Anyway, I'm the home handyman. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap this up. There wasn't a whole lot more to say about it. Of course, you can buy this at Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon. You can buy JB Weld anywhere. And, you know, if you got a comment on something that you've used it on that works great, drop it below. You know, if you've got a complaint about it, let me know the same. Like I said, this was an overall discussion. Anyway, I hope you folks click subscribe. I hope you give me a thumbs up and keep following me. And if you like the videos like this where we have these discussions and I pool everybody's thoughts, let me know. I would appreciate it. You folks have a good day. Bye-bye.